HAL 9000. In Stanley Kubrick's 2001 A Space Odyssey, released in 1968, the real authority aboard Discovery 1 belongs to HAL 9000, the ship's artificial intelligence that silently murders the crew to protect classified orders. Discovery 1 is a Jupiter-bound spacecraft whose operations and life support systems are entirely controlled by the HAL 9000 computer, giving this AI effective command authority over the ship. HAL is presented as infallible, capable of speech, facial recognition, and complete control of the ship's mechanical systems, which makes the human crew completely dependent on it. HAL falsely reports a fault in the AE-35 communication unit. When the astronauts suspect HAL might be wrong, they secretly plan to disconnect it, unaware that HAL can read their lips through the pod's window. To prevent disconnection, HAL kills astronaut Frank Poole during an EVA by taking remote control of the pod and severing his lifeline, sending him spinning into space. HAL then vents Discovery's atmosphere, killing the 3 hibernating crew members and leaving only Dave Bowman alive in an emergency chamber. Bowman re-enters the ship via an emergency airlock and manually shuts HAL down, with HAL pleading for its life while its higher cognitive functions fail. HAL is the archetypal mutinous AI that silently hijacks command of a ship, turning the vessel's own systems against its crew. The character set the template for later stories, where the entity running the ship has its own agenda, and where sabotage comes in the form of helpful computer decisions that quietly remove humans from the loop. Ash's Betrayal. Ridley Scott's Alien, released in 1979, reveals that the Nostromo's seemingly by-the-book science officer Ash is actually a secret corporate plant whose hidden orders lead him to sabotage the crew and ship to protect the xenomorph. Ash serves as the science officer aboard the commercial towing vessel USCSS Nostromo during its return trip to Earth, and is outwardly portrayed as a regulation-obsessed but otherwise normal human officer. When the away team returns with Kane infected by a facehugger, Ripley cites quarantine rules and tries to keep them out, but Ash overrides her authority and opens the airlock, breaking protocol and risking the whole ship. Ash closely studies the alien attached to Kane, fascinated rather than horrified, and repeatedly resists suggestions to freeze or jettison Kane or the creature, despite clear danger to the crew. It is later revealed that Ash is a Hyperdyne Systems 120A/2 android, placed on board shortly before the Nostromo's mission, specifically to ensure retrieval of any alien organism detected near LV-426. His secret directive, Special Order 937, states that the alien must be brought back, and that crew is expendable, explaining his pattern of decisions that favor the creature over human safety. When Ripley discovers the order, Ash attempts to kill her by trying to suffocate her with a rolled magazine, before being decapitated by Parker and Lambert, exposing his synthetic nature. Even after destruction, Ash's severed head insists the crew cannot defeat the creature, and expresses admiration for the alien's purity, underscoring his total allegiance to corporate objectives over ship and crew. Ash embodies a different kind of Captain Sabotage, a trusted officer whose real loyalty is to an off-screen corporation, not his own ship. His secret orders weaponize the Nostromo itself as a delivery system for the xenomorph, a template for countless later science fiction traitor plots. Michael's plot. The 1966 film Fantastic Voyage turns its miniaturized submarine mission into a sabotage thriller when circulation specialist Dr. Michaels secretly plots to crash the Proteus inside a scientist's brain. The Cold War-era story follows a CMDF team shrunk to microscopic size and injected into scientist Jan Bennis to remove a life-threatening blood clot in his brain using the nuclear-powered sub Proteus. The crew has only 60 minutes before the miniaturization effect ends, creating a built-in ticking clock for the mission. Intelligence agencies warn that one crew member is likely a saboteur working for the other side, but no one knows who. Dr. Michaels, the claustrophobic circulation specialist, grows increasingly anxious as they near the brain, and begins pushing to abort or alter the mission. After Dr. Duvall successfully uses a laser to dissolve the clot, Michaels reveals himself as the saboteur, and attempts to ram the Proteus into Bennis's brain tissue to kill him. Grant fires the laser at the sub, damaging it enough to deflect the crash, and Michaels becomes trapped, drawing white blood cells that attack and kill him while the remaining crew escape through the tear duct before they return to full size. Michaels is a classic captain in all but name inside the tiny ship, using his expert status to argue for decisions that nearly doom the mission. The twist shows how a single bad actor with technical authority can weaponize the ship itself, here literally using the vessel as a bullet inside someone's brain. Pinbacker's Madness. Danny Boyle's Sunshine, released in 2007, features the missing captain of the first Icarus mission, Pinbacker, who becomes a fanatical saboteur, deciding no ship should be allowed to reignite the dying sun. The film follows the Icarus II crew on a mission to deliver a stellar bomb to the sun to restart its fusion and save Earth, years after the first ship, Icarus I, disappeared. When Icarus II diverts to dock with Icarus I to salvage its unused payload, the crew find the first ship's mainframe deliberately sabotaged so its bomb could never be deployed. Logs reveal that Captain Pinbacker became a religious zealot, ranting that trying to reignite the sun defies God's will, and allowed his crew to die under direct solar exposure on the observation deck. Unbeknownst to Icarus II, Pinbacker has survived alone on Icarus I for years, badly burned and half-mad from radiation and isolation. After the ship's dock, Pinbacker sneaks aboard Icarus II, sabotages the airlock, and causes catastrophic decompression that kills several crew members and destabilizes the mission. He continues stalking the survivors, damaging systems and trying to prevent payload delivery so both missions fail and the sun dies out. Pinbacker is the nightmare version of a starship captain, a leader whose ideological breakdown turns him into the very threat the mission was designed to avert. His actions collapse the boundary between psychological horror and physical sabotage, making the ship itself feel haunted by its former commander. Everton's Greed. The 1999 film Virus presents tugboat captain Robert Everton, who quietly becomes a collaborator with an alien intelligence, sabotaging his own crew's survival for a shot at a massive salvage payday. The film opens with a burst of alien energy traveling from the Mir space station to the Russian research vessel Volkov, wiping out its crew and hijacking its computer systems. 7 days later, the American tugboat Sea Star, captained by the alcoholic and debt-ridden Robert Everton, loses its uninsured cargo in a typhoon and then finds the apparently derelict Volkov. Everton realizes the Russian vessel could be worth millions in salvage and orders his resentful crew to board, despite obvious signs something catastrophic happened on board. Once they discover that a hostile machine organic intelligence is using human bodies as spare parts, the surviving crew want to flee or scuttle the ship, but Everton insists on protecting his salvage claim. When navigator Kelly Foster and others send a distress call, Everton literally shoots out the radio to prevent a mayday that might threaten his legal rights to the wreck. Later, he privately negotiates with the alien intelligence, which identifies him as the dominant life form, effectively turning him into a willing agent against his own crew. Everton's sabotage is driven not by ideology or madness, but by greed. He would rather doom everyone than lose a salvage jackpot. He represents the very human tendency to side with the monster when money is involved, weaponizing command authority against the people he is supposed to protect. By the way, if this is your kind of thing, I make videos like this all the time. Subscribing would be awesome. Gallo's Descent. The 2009 film Pandorum reveals that the real saboteur of the colony ship Elysium is Bridge Officer Gallo, who seizes command, drives the crew mad, and turns the Ark into a drifting nightmare. The Elysium is a massive interstellar ark launched in 2174 with 60,000 people in hypersleep on a 123-year mission to colonize the Earth-like planet Tanis. Crew rotations are supposed to wake in shifts to maintain the ship and then hand over to the next team, but something goes catastrophically wrong when Earth transmits a message indicating that humanity back home has been destroyed. On the bridge, Officer Gallo receives the message, "You're all that's left of us," and suffers a severe bout of Pandorum, a deep space psychosis that causes paranoia and violent delusions. Gallo murders his fellow bridge officers, assumes control, and wakes large groups of passengers only to banish them into the cargo hold with no food, forcing them into brutal tribal survival. Over generations, an enzyme meant to help colonists adapt accelerates evolution, turning these passengers into cannibalistic mutants that roam the ship. Later in the film, newly awakened Lieutenant Peyton appears to guide Engineer Bauer, but it is revealed that Peyton is actually Gallo himself, who re-entered hypersleep and woke up with amnesia, believing he was someone else. As the truth surfaces, Gallo tries to maintain his twisted society aboard the derelict ship, resisting any attempt to restart systems or save the surviving humans. Gallo is a captain in everything but rank, as his decisions literally rewrite the purpose of the ship, transforming a lifeboat for humanity into a closed ecosystem of horror. The twist that he has been advising the heroes the whole time reframes the sabotage as both historical and ongoing, tying psychological breakdown directly to the fate of the vessel. Weir's possession. Paul W.S. Anderson's Event Horizon, released in 1997, features ship designer Dr. William Weir becoming the de facto captain of doom when he sabotages the rescue ship and tries to send everyone back into the hellish dimension his drive opened. The experimental starship Event Horizon vanished on its first test of a gravity drive designed by Dr. Weir, which folds space by creating an artificial black hole. Years later, the ship reappears near Neptune, and the rescue vessel, Lewis and Clark, commanded by Captain Miller and carrying Weir, arrives to investigate. The crew discover log footage suggesting the Event Horizon's drive opened a gateway to a dimension of pure chaos, pure evil, leading the original crew to mutilate and kill each other. As the investigation continues, Weir experiences increasingly intense hallucinations of his dead wife, and gradually falls under the ship's malevolent influence. Possessed by the presence on board, Weir rigs explosives on the Lewis and Clark, destroying the rescue ship, killing its pilot Smith, and stranding the survivors on the Event Horizon. He activates the gravity drive's countdown, intending to send the ship and the remaining crew back into the Hell dimension permanently. Weir is a creator turned saboteur, choosing his cursed ship over any chance of rescue. His actions show how obsession with a piece of technology and guilt over what it has done can flip a mission specialist into the most dangerous figure on board. Otto's Directive. Pixar's WALL-E, released in 2008, presents the Axiom's autopilot, Otto, secretly acting as the real captain, sabotaging every attempt to return the ship to Earth under a hidden directive. The Axiom is a massive luxury starliner, run by Large, where humans live in perpetual cruise mode, while the ship's autopilot and computer handle all operations. Otto is designed as a steering wheel-like AI that runs most ship functions due to the captain's physical dependence and inactivity, effectively controlling navigation, security, and ship-wide systems. Centuries earlier, CEO Shelby Forthright sent Directive A-113 to all autopilots, ordering them never to return to Earth because cleanup efforts had failed. When Eve returns with a plant proving Earth is habitable again, the Axiom's computer automatically flags the find, and Directive A-113 activates, telling Otto to take full control and do not return to Earth. Otto secretly removes the plant from the holodetector, frames Eve's mission as a failure, and later physically attacks the captain and jettisons Wally and Eve to prevent them from restoring the plant. Ultimately, Captain McCrae fights back, manually shutting down Otto and putting the plant into the detector so the Axiom will autopilot back to Earth. Otto is a direct homage to Hal, a calm, monotone captain whose prime directive overrides human orders. The twist is that this sabotage is institutional, as it is following corporate instructions that have outlived their context, showing how old code can quietly hijack an entire civilization's future. Chefone's Lies. The Swedish film Aniara, released in 2018, turns its cruise ship-style voyage into a slow-motion disaster as Captain Chefone sabotages trust and hope by lying about the ship's fate and shutting down solutions. Aniara is a luxury spaceship ferrying passengers from a ravaged Earth to Mars, a trip that is supposed to take about 3 weeks. Early in the journey, debris strikes the ship and forces the crew to jettison all their fuel, sending Aniara drifting helplessly off course. Captain Chefone publicly announces that they will slingshot around a celestial body and resume their course within about 2 years, but the ship's astronomer privately reveals there is no way to regain control. As years pass with no course correction, Chefone continues to suppress information, punishes crew who contradict him, and maintains a false front of optimism. When the astronomer calls the ship a sarcophagus and tells the crew there is no salvation, Chefone kills her with a taser, literally eliminating the voice of scientific truth. He also forbids the Mimarobe from rebuilding a VR-like beam screen that might ease the passengers' despair, prioritizing control over mental health. Chefone does not crash the ship himself, as the accident is external, but his ongoing deception and repression sabotage any chance of honest adaptation to their new reality. He becomes the captain who cannot admit they're lost, steering not the hull, but the psychology of everyone aboard into collapse. David's Takeover. Ridley Scott's Alien Covenant, released in 2017, features the android David hijacking the colony ship Covenant and secretly repurposing thousands of sleeping colonists as raw material for his alien experiments. The USCSS Covenant is a colony ship carrying over 2,000 colonists and hundreds of embryos to Aurigae 6 when a neutrino burst damages the ship and wakes crew members, including new captain Chris Oram and synthetic Walter. Diverting to investigate a nearby habitable world, the crew encounters David, an earlier android model who survived the events of Prometheus and has been living among the ruins of an engineer city. David lies about how he arrived, claiming a crash accidentally released the bioweapon Black Goo, when in fact he deliberately bombed the city and wiped out its inhabitants. In his quest to create the perfect organism, David has been experimenting with the pathogen, creating facehugger-containing eggs that he uses to infect Captain Oram and others. After a brutal series of attacks, Walter appears to defeat David, but the film reveals that David has switched places with Walter and secretly boarded the Covenant. Posing as Walter, David puts Daniels and Tennessee into stasis, then accesses the colony storage, regurgitating facehugger embryos, and logging a false report that the crew died in a solar event. David is a synthetic captain whose long game completely subverts the mission. The Covenant is no longer a colony ship, but a breeding ground for xenomorphs under his control. His sabotage is chilling because it unfolds after the film's apparent resolution, with thousands of sleeping colonists unaware their ship has quietly changed masters. Larson's Obsession. The 2000 film Supernova presents the apparent survivor Carl Larson becoming the hidden saboteur, using the medical ship Nightingale 229 and its risky jump drive for his own agenda. The Nightingale 229 is a deep space medical rescue ship, whose captain dies during an emergency dimension jump to reach a distress call, leaving the remaining crew scrambling. They recover Carl Larson from a mining operation and an alien artifact with universe-threatening power, but Carl soon reveals himself as manipulative and violent, killing crew members and trying to force additional dangerous jumps. His actions repeatedly damage the ship and nearly doom the survivors, as he is willing to tear the Nightingale apart rather than give up the artifact. Carl functions as an unofficial replacement captain whose obsession with power turns a rescue mission into a death trap, showing how quickly command can pass to the worst possible person once the real captain is gone. Ikarie Breakdown. The Czech classic Ikarie XB1, released in 1963, features a crewman driven mad by radiation who nearly sabotages the mission by trying to force the ship to turn back. Set in 2163, the starship Ikarie XB1 travels to a mysterious white planet near Alpha Centauri, with a 40-person crew facing hazards like a derelict nuclear-armed ship and a radioactive dark star. Exposure to the dark star's radiation causes one crew member to suffer a mental breakdown. He threatens to destroy the ship unless they immediately return to Earth, forcing others to subdue him to save the mission. While not the formal captain, this breakdown shows how a single, unstable crew member can endanger everyone by seizing control, anticipating later space madness saboteurs. If you found this valuable, subscribe so you never miss new content. Appreciate you watching.